Hey everyone, so I'm back with another video, and being that we just got off the heels of the previous ban list, I think this was a more appropriate video to make. So today I'm going to be talking about how jet synchron isn't really the problem, and I feel like if jet synchron were to have gotten hit in the previous ban list, it would have been the wrong hit. But we'll slowly get our way into that, and yeah, let's get into it. So, a little bit of an introduction to Jet Synchron. So, many have called for the ban of Jet Synchron despite the ban list, but Jet Synchron has been a part of the game for a while. So, if you don't know what Jet Synchron is, it's a level 1 Pyro attribute machine type tuner monster. And its effect reads as follows. So you can add one junk monster from the deck to the hand, and if it's sent to the graveyard as synchro material. But also the main effect that everyone uses it for is if this card is in your graveyard, you can send one card from your hand to the graveyard to special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So you can only use that effect of the effects of Jet Synchron once per turn. So now that we have a little bit of its introduction, we can get into its strength and applications, why it's kind of overall used in general. So it's great for summoning Link Karibo and now relinquished Anima, but it's also efficient at summoning synchro monsters and, as we said before, just Link summoning in general. But the reason why it's so easy to be used in synchro summoning and link summoning in general is because you can easily revive it from the graveyard with its own effect. So that's the reason why it's good for link and synchro summons. But on top of that, because it can revive itself, it can allow easy link to summon capabilities. So that's primarily because you can reuse Jet Synchron. And you can, even if it does get banished by its effect, you can use something like Psyframe Lord Omega to bring it back into the graveyard, and you can use its effect on a different turn if you already used its effect. So another one of its applications is it's easy to search with tuning. Tuning is the spell card which allows you to add one Synchron monster from your deck to your hand, and after you do that, after you shuffle the deck, you mill the top card to your graveyard. So it's easy to search off of that. Another way which it's really easy to get out is by using 1-for-1 on it. So if you don't have it in your hand or in the graveyard, you can use 1-for-1, discard one card from your hand or send one card from your hand, monster that is, and you get to special summon out Jet Synchron from your deck. So you can easily use its effect right after. On top of that, it also works wonders with machine duplication if you want to get out duplicates of it out onto the field, which is insane. So that was a quick rundown of its strengths and applications. So now we're going to get into why it's called to being banned. What are the reasons why people think it should be banned, or why in this previous ban list people really wanted it to be banned. So it's easy to summon out Crystron Halquifibrax with Jet Synchron's revival effect, essentially. So Jet Synchron has constantly been viewed as a stepping stone to summoning Halquifibrax. And what you typically do to summon out this Crystron card with Jet Synchron is you typically link summon Link Karibo first, because it can use a level 1 monster. Well, you have to use a level 1 monster to summon out Link Karibo. So you summon out Link Karibo first. Then you use Jet Synchron's effect, you discard a card and you summon it back onto the field, and you use Jet Synchron along with Link Karibo for a link summon to summon out Halquifibrax. And once you do have Halquifibrax out on the field, you can summon one level 3 or lower tuner monster from your deck or your hand, which that's probably its most menacing effect. This provides an additional material that you can use in turn to summon out a Link 3 monster, which you can use, of course, that monster to generate more effects. So the special summon, it also allows you, on top of that, if that wasn't enough, Halquifibrax also allows you to special summon a Synchro tuner monster from your extra deck during your opponent's main phase or battle phase. So that's after the same turn you summon it. So it's not quite on the same turn. And that's a hard once per turn that you can use those effects. So we can kind of see the reasons why it's been called to be banned. It generates a lot of advantage and it's kind of easy to summon. But we'll get into more of those details as to why I think Halqifibrax is the real problem. So, despite what everyone says, I don't think Jet Synchron is the problem. Halqifibrax, I think, is the actual problem, and there are a few people that will probably agree with me on that, but for the most part, people will probably say Jet Synchron is the problem. But I think Halqifibrax is the actual problem here. And the reason why I say that is because Jet Synchron hasn't really been competitive too much before its prime, and when Halqifibrax released. It hasn't really been too competitive in the foreseeable past until Halqifibrax came out. So it saw just a little more use when Link Kuriboh released, and it was primarily used to get out Link 2 monsters, and part of that is you could also use Relinquished Anima, which helped to get those Link 2 monsters out. The issue isn't really summoning Link 2 monsters. Part of the problem is that Halqifibrax is too easy to summon out, so that's part of its issue. I think it should have been a Link 3 monster, so that would have probably mitigated Jet Synchron's effect in terms of getting it out onto the field and easily getting out Halqifibrax. But Halqifibrax problematically summons out another monster, which is the main issue, and I think that's primarily the thing that makes Halqifibrax the more dangerous thing in this entire format. It's easy to summon out, and it's also summons out another monster in turn because of its effect. And it generates too much advantage with this additional Link material out on the board. And now that we've got some of what Krishna Halqifibrax can do, we'll get into the reason why it's more of a problem. So why it's more of a problem is because it shares a lot of the same issues that a lot of previous ban cards have, particularly cards that enable an extra summon mechanic or an extra summon that you can put out a monster out onto the field. So similar cards to Halqifibrax are examples like Nightmare Goblin or Brilliant Fusion, which often you would use to summon out Seraphonite to get out that extra summon, and also Summon Sorceress. So these three cards, they're all very similar to each other, and they're very similar to Halqifibrax. And all of these cards have been banned because of that extra summon capability. So Jet Synchron summons itself out, but it requires a cost, and unlike Jet Synchron, Halqifibrax enables a summon upon its summon with pretty much no cost. Also, its minimal cost to summon a monster from the extra deck, which involves banishing itself from the graveyard to summon out that monster from that tuner monster from the extra deck, that tuner synchro monster, is very minimal. And I mean, it's not very much it's not a huge loss. And the bigger issue is when you do use Halqifibrax's effect to summon out the tuner synchro monster from your extra deck, it counts as an appropriate synchro summon. So this allows you to exploit Formula Synchron's draw effect, which I think it personally generates way too much advantage just for that reason in itself. So basically, Halqifibrax generates two summons in general off of the summon of this one card. That's way too much advantage just for any card to have. It's almost reminiscent of the Brilliant Fusion Seraphonite combo, but you would have to go through a whole series of steps to do that. But Halqifibrax really bypasses that and does it all itself. It's all of that combo just in one card. So the problem isn't Jet Synchron, and the problem isn't necessarily summoning out easy Link 2 monsters. The real problem actually is to summon out these very easy to summon Link 2 monsters, which in turn they generate another summon themselves. So what I'm saying is, an easy Link 2 monster to summon, which is Halqifibrax, is the actual problem, because it allows you to summon out another monster, which in turn you can use to summon out another monster and generate basically a Link 3 monster and kick off more effects from that. So that's the reason why I feel Halqifibrax is the real problem in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I really don't think Jet Synchron warrants a ban. It wasn't really active before this, and I don't really see why it makes sense. You can comfortably summon out a Link 2 monsters just off of Jet Synchron, and they don't really generate too many problems in general, I would say. But Halqifibrax, I think, is the real egregious problem here, and it doesn't make sense in my mind why Konami really makes cards like this that generate another summon. And the only reason I could think of that is to push more product and to generate more sales of that set that it came out in. So that's basically been my take on this video. That's why I think Halqifibrax is the issue, and I felt like this video was a very fitting option to my previous ban list video to kind of shed more light on a very specific topic in the ban list. But with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I actually really enjoyed making this video because it addressed the problem I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. But with that, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all your support, and I'll catch you in the next one. Alright, take care.